Hi, and welcome to Anne's Family Recipe. If you're looking for the perfect, gooey, soft and chewy chocolate chip cookie recipe, I've got it for you. Today I'm sharing my absolute favorite chocolate chip cookie recipe. This recipe comes from the blog Sally's Baking Addiction. Sally is an incredible baker. She has tons of best-selling cookbooks all about different desserts. I follow her on Instagram. She has so many incredible recipes, both savory and sweet, on her blog. And her chewy chocolate chip cookie recipe is my absolute favorite. Now, I don't follow her recipe exactly to a T as far as the instructions, but all of the ingredients and measurements are the same. So I'm going to share that with you today. I'm starting with the dry ingredients. So for this recipe, you don't necessarily need a stand mixer, but even if you make these just by hand in a large mixing bowl, you'll want to whisk together your dry ingredients first so they're evenly incorporated. So this starts with 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. So I'll measure that out and add it just to a kind of medium-sized mixing bowl. Okay, and then I also have a teaspoon, not a half teaspoon, I have a teaspoon of baking soda, and then I'm using half a teaspoon of salt. Lastly, I have kind of a secret ingredient. I've never seen cornstarch used in any other chocolate chip cookie recipes, but this makes them nice and soft and chewy. They are so good. The texture is perfect. So for the cornstarch, I'm using a teaspoon and a half.
Yeah.
Go, teaspoon. And okay, so that's my dry ingredients. I'm surrounded by children in my kitchen right now, so you might hear some ambient noises in the background. But I'm just going to whisk the dry ingredients together, and then we'll go over to my stand mixer and get started on the wet ingredients. So next I'm going to cream together my butter and sugar. So that's 1 1/2 sticks of room temperature butter. Now Sally typically recommends melting the butter and then slightly cooling it. I found that room temperature still yields delicious results because I'm still going to refrigerate the dough before baking it, and that is the key element so that the cookies don't spread too much. They stay kind of thick and tall and nice and chewy. So to the 1 1/2 sticks of unsalted butter, I'm adding 1/2 cup of white sugar and then 3/4 cup of packed light brown sugar. Then I'm going to turn on my stand mixer and cream these together for a couple minutes. Alright, so my butter and sugar are creamed together. They're nice and fluffy and well incorporated. And next I'm going to add a whole egg plus an egg yolk. So I can crack the whole egg right into my stand mixer, and these are at room temperature too. It makes them a lot easier not only to crack but also to incorporate into the butter and sugar that we already have going. And then here's my second egg at room temperature, and I'm going to crack that into a separate bowl to get rid of the egg white, and then I'll pop the egg yolk into my batter. At this point, I'm also going to add in 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract, and then we'll mix this all together and add in the flour mixture. All right, here we go. So now I'm adding in my dry ingredients. I'm going to do it in 2 installments just so I don't make a huge cloud of flour in the kitchen. So I'll just sprinkle in about half. Again, you might hear Andrew playing on the floor, no problem. And we'll incorporate this and then add in the rest, and then we're going to stir in the chocolate chips by hand just so they don't get crushed up by the mixer. It's really important not to overmix your cookie dough batter. So as you can see, there's a little bit of flour around the perimeter, but I'm gonna mix that in as I mix in my chocolate chip cookies by hand, just using a rubber spatula. So this recipe calls for 1 1/4 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips. So I'm gonna add those in. And of course that is to taste. I always use a little bit more than that. Plus, if you want to get the picture perfect chocolate chip cookie, make sure you have some extra semi-sweet chocolate chips on hand, because after we roll these into balls, right before we bake them, we're gonna dot the top with a few extra chocolate chips. And once it bakes, it's just gonna look like it could be in a magazine. That is such a great tip that I've learned both from Sally's Baking Addiction and from some other Instagrammers I watch who make the best looking chocolate chip cookies. Okay, so I'm just mixing these in by hand. Takes a little muscle. With this cookie dough batter, you definitely want to refrigerate it before you bake the cookies, because otherwise they'll spread too much in the oven. You want them to be nice and thick and chewy. So I like to scoop mine out first with my medium cookie scoop. I can put them real close together all on one baking tray, pop it in the fridge for about an hour, and then I'll spread them out on a couple of pans and bake them in the oven that way. Some people will just refrigerate the dough as is in their mixing bowl, but then when you get it out, you have to let it come back to room temperature a little bit before you can scoop it, or else it's too hard. So I like to do the scooping first, refrigerate them, and then you can bake them right away. Also, if you scoop all of the cookie dough out, you can put some of those cookie dough balls into a freezer-safe Ziploc bag, put them away, and then you'll have cookie dough anytime you want fresh baked chocolate chip cookies. But today, I think we might be making all of this. Okay, so a bit of time has passed. It was actually a beautiful fall day today, so I got to get a little run in the gorgeous weather. We had a nice spaghetti dinner. It's Sunday afternoon, and now I'm gonna bake these incredible cookies. So I took these out of the refrigerator and I divided them between 2 different trays. Like I said, you can refrigerate them really close together, but of course you wanna spread them apart when you're baking, because they'll spread a little bit as they cook. So I have 12 on each tray, and my oven is preheated to 325 degrees. So these will bake for about 12 to 13 minutes, but of course I'm going to keep my eye on them. They'll probably look a little underbaked when they're done, but when they stay on the tray for an additional 10 minutes or so after baking, they'll continue to cook a little bit. So you don't want to overdo it in the oven. And then we'll remove them to a cooling rack and we can dig in. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, follow me on Instagram at Ann's Family Recipe, and give this video a thumbs up if you love chocolate chip cookies. Thank you so much for joining me here in my kitchen, and I'll see you again soon with another family recipe.